Hi, this is Lee Nash from Sixpence None the Richer. You're listening to Your Morning Coffee podcast with our friends Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart. Weekly music news for the new music business.
From Mandy DeLugdug at Music Business Worldwide, Spotify's playlist editors now explain their picks to listeners and get their own public profiles.
From Jason Ashcraft at JWA Media, an op-ed, Blue Dot Fever isn't a ticket sales problem. It's a good old-fashioned American greed problem.
And from Tim Ingham at Music Business Worldwide, Robert Kinsel justifies a Suno deal as UMG and Sony press on with the lawsuit. He said, in my opinion, you embrace it.
And from Mandy DeLugdug at Music Business Worldwide, 5 things to know about Suno's BMG licensing deal, download caps, watermarks, and more. Boy, Tim Ingham and Mandy DeLugdug from Music Business Worldwide were very busy this week. But hey, we're glad you're here. We're going to start episode 316 right about now.
Stand by for transmission.
This is London calling.
Wake up! The revolution is at hand!
Your morning coffee is on the air. On the air, on the air, on the air, on the air, on the air. Standing by. Your morning coffee, the weekly music news for the new music business. It's the highly curated, agitated, advocated, moderated, and liberated digital music information that you need to know. We are your digital music authority. And now from our studios in Hollywood, California, here's your hosts, Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart.
Well, Jay, it is good to see you, and I would actually encourage all of our listeners to stop whatever they're doing and in their best voice sing happy birthday to you, because you just had a birthday.
I did. I just got back from Traverse City, Michigan, where I celebrated my birthday at a music festival at Interlochen Center for the Arts, Traverse City, Michigan. I got to see the Accidentals and Emma Zink, fantastic artists if you haven't seen them. Joanne Shaw Taylor, blues guitar player, singer, awesome. The Burney Sisters, amazing. A to Z music. It was just a great festival all day long. Had a fantastic birthday out on the road.
Indeed. Boy, I'm a little jealous, I must say. Before we jump into the stories, Jay, I'm going to propose that we thank our sponsors, because support for the show comes from Hypebot. Since 2004, Hypebot has chronicled the new music industry and the trends and technologies that are changing how music is discovered, consumed, marketed, and monetized. Founded by Bruce Houghton, Hypebot is edited by touring artist and publisher Jeremy Young and supported by live music discovery and marketing platform Bands in Town.
Yeah, support for the show also comes from Bands in Town. Now over 100 million live music fans trust Bands in Town to get personalized concert alerts, recommendations, and messages from their favorite artists. It's a #1 artist services platform, connects over 700,000 artists with their super fans. Managers, labels, agencies, and artists access their own dashboard to promote and manage their tour dates across all music platforms.
Indeed, and I get to hang out with the birthday boy himself every week. He is Jay Gilbert, music business consultant, educator, curator of the weekly Your Morning Coffee newsletter, and a former executive with Universal Music, Sony Music, and Warner Music Groups.
Thank you so much. And I get to hang out with Mike Etchart every single week, longtime host of Sound and Vision Radio, formerly of SST Records, Warner Music, Capital EMI, and Universal Music Group. And he's sort of holding down the fort this week. I am super tired. I didn't get a lot of sleep, a lot of airplanes. But there's a really great saying, Mike, that some nights you're Gladys, and other nights the Pip's got to hold it down.
There you go. Spoken. Truer words have never been spoken, by the way. Well, let's jump into the big stories, Jay.
Yeah, the first one is from Mandy DeLugdug. A lot of the work this week is from Mandy DeLugdug from Music Business Worldwide. The headline is Spotify playlist editors now explain their picks to listeners and get their own public profiles. So Spotify launched a new feature called Playlist Notes last week, letting its editorial curators attach comments to individual tracks and playlists like today's top hits and Rap Caviar.
The editorial rollout follows a listener-facing version of the same tool called User Notes that Spotify launched July 30th for playlists users own or collaborate on. Alongside Playlist Notes, Spotify also introduced editor profiles, giving its curators a public page showing their top tracks, albums, and playlist contributions.
Yeah, I thought it was really interesting. So here's what you need to know. Playlist Notes and editor profiles, they're rolling out to free and premium users age 16 and over in the US, Canada, UK, Ireland, Australia, and New Zealand. And 6 playlists carry the feature at launch, and these are as follows: Today's Top Hits, Rap Caviar, Hot Country, All New Pop, Mint, and Fresh Finds Hip Hop.
All right. Our next story is from Jason Ashcraft over at JWA Media. It is an op-ed. Blue Dot Fever isn't a ticket sales problem. It's a good old-fashioned American greed problem. Well, Jason Ashcraft published this opinion piece addressing what the concert industry has nicknamed Blue Dot Fever, unsold tickets showing up as empty blue dots on venue seating maps.
Yeah, Jason argues that falling ticket sales trace back to years of accumulating fees and price increases across the concert-going experience, not to fans losing interest in live music. The piece walks us through added costs that fans face beyond the ticket price itself. You know, things like parking and hotels to concessions and merch. And he argues that those costs are now competing with fans' basic household expenses.
Yeah, well, here's what you need to know. The piece cites parking costs of $50 or more and hotel rooms running $200 or more per night. It also cites gas prices of $4 to $5 or more per gallon as part of the cost of attending a show.
Yeah, it also includes in-venue concession costs that we just mentioned, you know, like $10 for a beer or even more, $18 cocktails, you know, $5 for a bottle of water, and you know, sometimes $15 nachos. Plus, Jason points out, you know, dynamic pricing like tiered platinum and gold passes and VIP packages as pricing strategies drawing a lot of fan criticism.
Yeah, he goes on to say rising tour costs are attributed to trucking, insurance, labor, fuel, staging, lighting, and security. And he also lists groceries, rent or mortgage, healthcare, and childcare as expenses fans are prioritizing over concert spending.
Yeah, really interesting story by our friend Jason Ashcraft, and you can read the full thing in your morning coffee. Our next story this week is from Tim Ingham, Music Business Worldwide, one of our favorites. And the headline is Robert Kinsel justifies Suno deal as UMG and Sony press on with lawsuit. In my opinion, you embrace it. So Warner Music Group CEO Robert Kinsel, he defended his company's licensing deal with AI music platform Suno during an appearance on Semaphore's Mixed Signals podcast on August 14th. And my friend Bill Hines sent me that podcast and I watched it and it was really good. You know, Robert Kinsel doesn't make a lot of public appearances like this.
No.
And it's a fantastic podcast.
Yeah, well, the interview came about a week after BMG announced its own licensing agreement with Suno, while Universal Music Group and Sony Music Group continue pursuing litigation against the platform through the RIAA.
Yeah, so Robert Kinsel drew comparisons to his prior experience with YouTube, right? He was an executive there. You know, he actually worked to convert copyright disputes at YouTube with the music industry, you know, into these commercial partnerships.
Yeah, well, here's a few things you need to know about this. WMG dropped its lawsuit against Suno 9 months ago and struck a licensing deal, which Music Business Worldwide reports included WMG taking an equity stake in Suno.
That's right. And as part of that deal, Suno committed to limiting user downloads and to launching a new model licensed by industry partners. And BMG also announced its own global licensing agreement with Suno on August 12th and will also participate in building Suno's new licensed models.
Yeah, a few other points. Universal and Sony, through the RIAA, remain in active litigation against Suno over alleged mass copyright infringement. Suno lost a legal fight against German rights group GEMA earlier this month, a ruling UMG and Sony could cite to dispute Kinsel's characterization of Suno as having gone legit.
Yeah, but Kinsel served as YouTube's chief business officer from 2010 to 2022, and he's previously spent 7 years at Netflix. He said AI negotiations with DSPs are focused on the risk of AI-generated music increasing passive listening and eating into the royalty pool for human artists and songwriters.
Yeah, asked if he'd have Netflix acquire a music service like Spotify, Kinsel said he would instead simply license the same music catalog YouTube already licenses. So, Jay, what do you think Robert Kinsel believes is the real risk that AI music poses to artists and songwriters?
Well, he said the bigger risk isn't AI tracks charting, but a large volume of average AI-generated music driving passive listening that eats into the same content pool DSPs pay out from, which is why he says Warner Music Group's DSP negotiations they're really focused there. So it was interesting, what Kinsel said could happen if labels succeed in shutting down platforms like Suno, through litigation.
Yeah, he said users don't care about lawsuits and will simply move to an unlicensed open source alternative outside the industry's reach, which he said would be worse for artists and songwriters than a licensed platform.
Yeah, I highly encourage our listeners to watch that Semaphore podcast. It was really, really well done. It's just really well done. So our next story is from Mandy DeLugdug at Music Business Worldwide. The headline is 5 things to know about Suno's BMG licensing deal, download caps, watermarks, and more. So Suno and BMG announced a global licensing alliance on August 12th, and that covered BMG's recorded music and publishing catalogs for artists and songwriters who opt in. That's the key phrase.
Yeah, in the same 8-day stretch, Suno rolled out download caps that take effect September 3rd, announced new watermarking and fingerprinting technology, launched an upgraded Studio 2.0 production suite, and opened a wait list for pressing AI-generated songs onto vinyl. Suno also said it will retire all of its current AI models once a new generation developed with the music industry is ready to launch.
Yeah, and here are the 5 things that Mandy at Music Business Worldwide, she lists. Here are the 5 things. Number 1, BMG licensed Suno, settling, past use of BMG's recorded music and publishing catalog, so no lawsuits were involved. Number 2, starting September 3rd, downloads become the release license with monthly caps by subscription tier. That's super important. Number 3, Suno is adding watermarking and fingerprinting technology, as you just mentioned, to identify its output elsewhere. Number 4, Suno launched Studio 2.0, a production suite carved out from the download caps. And 5, Suno opened a wait list for Suno Vinyl, letting users press AI-generated songs onto vinyl records. So, Mike, how do you think the BMG deal actually changes things for a BMG artist who wants nothing to do with AI-generated music?
Well, the deal covers only artists and songwriters who choose to participate, so it's opt-in rather than a blanket license across BMG's whole roster.
So, Mike, Apple Music is the latest streaming service to announce a plan like this, for labels on AI music. And it's really been a hot topic this summer. So before we get into the story about it, our friend Kristen Robinson, who's a senior music business correspondent at Billboard, she had this cool post on LinkedIn. I thought it was spot on. Let's listen in.
Labeling AI-generated music on streaming services is still not going to tell you every time that AI is used in the music-making process. So a lot of people are proposing that a good solution to the deluge of AI-generated music that is making its way onto streaming services is to just provide a tag next to the song title that tells people, hey, by the way, this is fully AI-generated. There are even some people who are proposing even AI-assisted work should contain a tag as well. So let's just say AI detection tools are on lock. We start doing it, it's going well, the songs are getting tagged as AI generated and everyone loves it. There will be songs that never get a tag because the recording itself was made by people, but the entire songwriting process might have still been generated by Suno. Let me explain. So you could feasibly go onto Suno, click generate, type in a prompt, click generate, you get 2 song ideas, which is how they do it there. And you could listen through that song idea and you're like, I love the melody, I love the lyrics, whatever. I'm going to go back in and re-record every single one of these parts that Suno just gave me with human musicians. And by the way, that actually happens all the time. Not all the time, a lot. It's happening a lot. I wrote a cover story on Suno for Billboard, and in it, I went to a Suno songwriting camp where basically that was the whole thing that was happening. This would be a group of professional musicians in a studio that Suno was paying for the week for them to make songs using the technology. And basically, one of the professional songwriters would come in with a little bit of an idea. They use Suno to generate and generate and generate and generate until they found something that they liked. They would take that and then get a bunch of session musicians in to record each of the parts one by one with human musicians. In the end, the songwriting, the melody, the lyrics, that kind of thing, might have been 90% the result of Suno, based on that 10% of an idea from a songwriter. But the recording is 100% human, so no one would ever know. And I just think that is very interesting. The concept that there could be, honestly, an A-lister's album where one of the songs, all of the ideas are generated by a machine, but the recording itself was copied by players. I just wanted to point this out because I think it's a very interesting reality that we're dealing with. If this kind of thing interests you, I think you'd like my podcast. It's called Billboard on the Record. You should check it out. Or follow me on here. I will always be reporting on AI music on this platform.
Well, thank you, Kristen. And that leads us beautifully into this piece by Tim Ingham over at Music Business Worldwide. The headline is Apple Music to slap AI labels on Suno tracks, but pushes the onus onto record companies. So Apple Music has told industry partners it will start labeling AI-generated tracks with a Made with AI tag later this year.
Yeah, the system depends on record labels and distributors submitting the correct metadata before content reaches the platform. So rather than Apple detecting AI generated content itself, Apple shared the plan in a memo to partners on August 20th, expanding on an AI transparency tagging system it's been running behind the scenes since March.
Yeah, so here's what you need to know about all this stuff. Apple Music introduced AI transparency tagging in its content delivery feed back in March, but those tags weren't visible to listeners until now.
Yeah, and content providers, they'll be required to include an AI transparency tag anytime AI was used to create a material portion of content. That's the key phrase, including tracks generated on platforms like Suno.
Yeah, Apple defines AI platform-generated content as anything primarily derived from a generative AI service.
Well, that spells it out. Spotify took a different approach on August 11th, introducing, quote, an AI persona badge that we've been talking about that flags artist profiles built around an AI-generated identity. And it says it won't rely on self-disclosure alone for that badge. So they're going to have their own team review it, their own algorithms, as well as that self-disclosure we talked about.
Yeah, Spotify's AI badge covers the artist profile, not the music itself, and Spotify's AI credits for tracks are self-disclosed, similar to Apple's approach.
Yeah, Deezer uses its own detection technology to identify suspected AI tracks rather than relying on that self-reporting.
And the EU AI Act's transparency rules, in force since August 2nd, requires generative AI providers to embed machine-readable markers in AI-generated content.
Suno, which was already on the market before August 2nd, has until December 2nd to meet that marking requirement, and said on August 6th it would adopt audio watermarking and fingerprinting in the coming weeks.
Yeah, so the RIAA and the IFPI announced a joint push in July to get AI-made tracks labeled across major streaming services. Well, in our final story this week, it's from Mandy DeLugdug at Music Business Worldwide. Judge clears Ariana Grande to subpoena Instagram, TikTok, and PayPal to identify alleged music leakers.
That's right, Mike. A Los Angeles Superior Court judge granted Ariana Grande's request for an expedited discovery on August 19th, allowing her to subpoena Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, X, Discord, PayPal, and Cash App. Grande is trying to identify anonymous defendants she accuses of hacking into the accounts of photographers and producers who've worked with her, then stealing and selling her unreleased music.
So here's what you need to know. The lawsuit alleges 45 unreleased songs were hacked, stolen, and leaked in 2023 alone, with hundreds of similar leaks since Grande's 2011 debut.
Yeah, this is a big problem. Claims in this suit include invasion of privacy, conversion, and violation of California's Comprehensive Computer Data Access and Fraud Act.
None of the named platforms or payment services are accused of wrongdoing. Grande is seeking their account, subscriber, and login records to match names to anonymous accounts.
Yeah, this is going to be interesting to see how this plays out, Mike. A similar case from Hybe's Big Hit Music. That was over a leaked BTS album a while back. They were granted a subpoena on X Corp, and that was in Texas federal court August 5th.
Madonna, Megan Thee Stallion, Ye, and Kelsey Ballerini have also pursued legal action against leakers, and that's according to Billboard.
Yeah, so Ariana Grande's new album, Petal, that arrived July 31st via her Baby Doll Music imprint through Republic Records, and it debuted at number 1 with 295,000 equivalent album units. That was her 7th chart topper. Congratulations, Ariana Grande.
Yeah. Well, I think we talked about this last week, too. Especially the way that music is created these days with so many different, people involved in a project, a given song. And, of course, they're sending stuff around, and it's really easy to lose track of where all these things are going and who's got them. And I can completely see how these things can kind of go off the rails and how stuff gets out there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, hey, Jay, it's time to wrap up the show. We certainly appreciate everyone listening in. We want to thank our sponsors. Big thanks to our friends at Hypebot and Bands in Town. If you'd like to advertise in the podcast and the newsletter, you can jump over to yourmorning.coffee. Music is by our friends, the Licorice Quartet. And if you enjoy the show, please tell just one friend. We would certainly appreciate that. So on behalf of my good friend, Jay Gilbert, the birthday boy himself, big thanks for listening in. And Jay and I will be back next week on the Your Morning Coffee Podcast.
You've been listening to Your Morning Coffee, the weekly music news program for the new music business. Join Jay Gilbert and Mike Etchart next time for the digital music news you need to know.